Welcome back, everyone, to the Chopping Block. My name is Andrew, alongside my co host Dylan, and we are about halfway through college football season. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights currently sit at 3-2, 0-2 in Big Ten play so far. But we're both hoping that that will be changing soon. Dylan, what is your kind of overall assessment and feeling about the first couple weeks of the season, and what changes do you really think Rutgers needs to continue to make going forward?
If we're looking at 3-2, like there's two losses, like there's one or two plays in those games that could easily make us 5-0 right now, or 4-1. Like it's simple things that just you kind of wonder why are we having these lapses mid-game. If it's like a breakdown in coverage, just randomly just lets up like a 60-yard play. Like against Minnesota, we had a 14-0 lead, all momentum. And first play on off their drive down 14, it's like an 80-yard pass play. Mostly yards after the catch. It's just like they score on that drive and it kind of ruins your momentum. And, and just those can happen. And then another thing I want to point out is that this offense is so elite. It's probably one of the most elite consistent offenses in the Big Ten. I know it's crazy to say, but I really think it is. And then you'll score 21 in the first half, and then we'll go through an entire third quarter. We won't score at all. And then we'll get seven in the fourth, and then we won't score again. Like, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past two games against Iowa and Minnesota, we've only scored 7 points in each of the second halves. Against Minnesota, it was 21-21, I believe, no, 21-14 at halftime. We were winning, and we ended up losing 31-28. It makes zero sense to me how our offense can look so elite, and then Ethan Calimenos will just have these mental like lapses and just throw an interception or just the offensive coordinator will start playing passive and run the ball more. Just stick to the offense and just it's something to change. They can't stop you in one half. It's gonna be hard to stop you in another half. I don't care about these defensive adjustments. The offense is so elite. You need to keep the foot on the pedal and just keep scoring because otherwise we're going to get into these games where we're going to rely on our defense to make some stops, and which clearly has not worked. And it's like you look at these two games, the trajectories of Iowa and Minnesota have almost been identical. Iowa we lost 38-28, and Minnesota we lost 31-28. The halftime score at Iowa was 21-21, and the halftime score in Minnesota was 21-14. In each of the games, we were down we were down four or three or four mid third quarter. We scored our only touchdown of each half after they took the lead on us. It's like our offense only clicks when in the beginning of the game or when we finally realize, shoot, we're losing this game. We got to actually score. And then we go on to give another defense. We let up another touchdown. We go down three again. And Iowa, they scored late. So, but Minnesota didn't. It's literally the same exact trajectory. If the Rutgers offense can play like they do in the very beginning of the game, and when they're losing and when they realize this is actually important, we would not lose or we would not be in these situations against winnable teams. We just need to make sure we stick to our offense, don't play passive, and we'll actually like be more successful than 0-2 in the Big Ten play.
Yeah, 100%. It's been two touchdowns in the second half in each of those two games, total for the Rutgers offense. Um, and you're right. Overall, from what I've seen, it just they shut down once they get to a certain point. Um, and we know that that's also not a good thing because the defense cannot hold any of the teams that we've played so far or any of the teams that the Scarlet Knights will be playing in the coming weeks. Um, so, yeah, I think that that's a major point of concern because the support from the offense has been the only thing really keeping them afloat in a lot of these games. And if you don't have it, especially as the clock continues to count down in the last quarter, you're not going to win any football games. So, um, but kind of what's your assessment of the schedule now coming up in the next couple of weeks? We know towards the end of the season you have two matchups against like Penn State and some other teams that really are going to be tough. But there's still some winnable games you think in the next couple of weeks, right?
No, for sure. And it starts this week on Friday night. Shout out Washington. I was kind of tracking their, obviously, we're playing them next week, so I was kind of tracking what they were doing against Maryland. And late third quarter, they were down 20-0. Zero offense all game. I think they had one red zone trip, maybe not even. It looked like they just fell apart after losing to Ohio State last week. And then something clicked. They had a field goal late in the third quarter, and their defense stepped up, and their offense just suddenly clicked. They scored 24 unanswered points against an undefeated Maryland team in their home stadium and beat the Terrapins 24-20. I was honestly stunned because on Maryland's side, that's one of the biggest games in recent program history. And Washington looked like they were just sleepwalking out there. And they just turned it on and honestly stole a game in College Park. So they have a lot of momentum going into this game against Scarlet Knights this Friday. Then you also look at it, it's kind of like their own trap game. They're so confident at 4-1. Their only loss is to the number one team in the country. And we're kind of like a down 3-2 team with two, like, honestly pretty heartbreaking losses. If we're coming off the bye week strong, if we made the right adjustments these past couple weeks of practice, I think this is such a winnable game. I don't know what the travel schedule is. I hope we get there early, adjust to the time differences. But there's not many things there's not many flaws that I see in this team that are gonna make us lose games. I think we've accepted that defense is just not gonna be our strong suit, but I think we have a good enough offense to back it up, right? If as I said, if these lapses don't happen, Washington's offense is not, I think it's not amazing that I think that our defense will get a few stops throughout the game. That's all we need. Against Minnesota in the third quarter, we went 3 or 4 stops. I think it was three for each defense, back and forth with no one scoring a point. This was like mid third quarter. It was like three and out, three and out, three and out. And then we also did it. We scored a touchdown to take the lead, and then we took them three and out again. That was a moment I really wanted them to score on that drive. They played passive when we got the stop of 4, but that's besides the point. The defense has shown that when they need a stop, they are capable of getting a stop. So I do think this is a very winnable game, and this is on a Friday night. It's national television. It's the only really somewhat decent game on that night, so people will be watching. And it's a very, very big game for momentum because we go back to SHI Stadium and play the number two, maybe even number one, who knows, team in the country, Oregon. If we win that game, that's the biggest win in program history since South Florida in '07 or like Louisville in '06. I don't recall a bigger win that we can possibly get. And then you have Purdue, Illinois, Maryland. Three completely winnable games. I don't care about this Illinois top 20 business. They've shown their offense is elite, but their defense is not. And that works perfectly for us because our defense can't stop anyone. I don't care if we can't stop Ohio. So if we're gonna accept that, at least we got to play a team with a vulnerable defense, so our offense can exploit them. And then Purdue, they're just one of those below the below average Big Ten teams. Obviously, it's in their home stadium, so like it's not saying it's a guaranteed win. Nothing's a guaranteed win with this defense, but it's a game you kind of have to win if you want to make a bowl game. And then Maryland, I was hyping them up, and I still really high on them. I think Malik Washington's a beast. And I think their defense is like upper half of the Big Ten. But they shown that they could break down yesterday, and I still believe that Rutgers' offense is better than Washington offense and better than whatever Maryland has faced all year. So those next 3 games after this 2-game West Coast team stretch is super winnable, and so I'm really like hoping that the next 2 games we can get back on track and at least split that you're going to give this team a chance to make a run deep in the season because as you said earlier, we end with Ohio State on the road and then Penn State at home. And I don't care about this Penn State losing to UCLA. I still have Penn State being probably 8-3 going into that game. I think they're going to lose to Ohio State. And 8-3 Penn State team at home is still going to, on paper, destroy us. So you got to make something. You got to make some magic happen there if you want to win those two games.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
looking on it,
yeah.
this
Um,
is
I think that for I think the Illinois game is probably going to be the most pivotal of the season. Um, I mean, you're talking about the ones that you should be winning in the next couple weeks, and then Oregon is Oregon. Um, but Illinois, if all goes right, that will be the game that you're not really supposed to win, but will get you over the hump, maybe into bowl contention, stuff like that. Um, and that's gonna kind of be pretty big, especially because, like you said, they're ranked or whatever people are saying that they are. The other thing I want to point out is I think it's funny that in 2025 in Big Ten play, you're having to worry about their travel schedules and dealing with time zone differences, which is just I don't know, it's just kind of funny.
yeah, kind of you feel for the West Coast teams more.
Yeah,
Oregon coming to New Jersey after coming to Penn State like 2 weeks ago, coming to Illinois. I think they're playing somewhat, but like they're just playing all over the place. I don't know, feel for the players kind of. But yeah, you mentioned the Illinois game. You want to take you back down memory lane to last year when we played Illinois and we were like 5-4. It was going to be our first ranked win, and I think in like 5, 6, I don't even know how many years it was. We haven't had a ranked win in nearly a decade. It's pretty pathetic to look at it, and maybe even more. I don't even remember, but they were coming in at like 25 in the country, and we were playing them in our home stadium. It was this tight game, and then remember we scored a touchdown late, and they had like 40 seconds to get down the field to hit a game-winning field goal, and we got them to attempt a 57-yarder, and Shiano iced the kicker, even though the winds were like going all over the place. This kicker was like I don't even know if there was a main kicker. I think there was like their long distance kicker. And we iced him. They realized he was able to attempt the kick. He realized he could not make it. They got the offense back on the field and one play touchdown with like 2 seconds to go in the game. It was probably one of the most heartbreaking losses I've watched in a long time because that was such a pivotal game. Because if we win that game, we won out against Maryland and Michigan State, and that would have been like an 8-4 team, one of the best records in a long time. And we would have made such a good bowl game, and we lost it, and all because of that one play. So hopefully, we're looking for some revenge against Illinois this year. They're going to be ranked, I think, playing them again, and it's a winnable game. And I like how you say it's a pivotal game because I think that Maryland game after might be a bowl deciding game.
yeah,
So yeah,
it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. I think it's weird that like we're looking at a race to a bowl game when really coming into the beginning of the season, especially after um, the first couple games, you would think that this team would be in a much better place than it currently is right now. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to come down to the wire. Um, I'm just not. I still like you mentioned that you're kind of just accepting that the defense is not going to be really the strong suit for Rutgers this year. But you're talking about what they came into the season with. They have a ton of transfers that are really supposed to make a difference. New defensive coaching, new defensive coordinator. But why is it that they just really couldn't figure that out?
honestly, I don't have an answer to that question. It's honestly something that surprises me as well. Like I knew that this defense wouldn't be like our recent defenses at first. You need chemistry. You just need like you need snaps and pads. You need real life game like experience. But they just haven't figured it out. But then you also look at one thing. Last year, this was a similar case that our defense was just weirdly good in the beginning of the year against like Washington and Virginia Tech, like single-handedly winning its games. And then even against Nebraska, where we lost 14-7, which was a pretty embarrassing loss at 4-0. And then we dealt with probably one of the most some of the most injuries at any FBS team. It's actually real. Like we had some of the most impactful injuries out of any FBS team that was contending last year, or not contending, where it was a decent team. So we went on a streak here where UCLA gave us. gave us 35. UCLA gave us 42. But then you figured it out. The defense came together. We still had these injuries, but the players who were on the field came together and they figured it out with the defensive coordinator. And they're like, we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to lose games because of our defense. And we went on a 3 out of 4 game win streak, with the only loss being to Illinois on that last second winner. So like I think if that happens this year, we're not out of this schedule. Like it's similar. Like we had like a winnable stretch last year with like Minnesota, Maryland, Illinois, Michigan State to end our year. And it's similar to our mid-year schedule with Purdue, Illinois, and Maryland. We have to figure it out. It's gonna be something with these big plays. I really think that's what's holding us back. So I'm still like somewhat confident, somewhat hopeful, but right now it's not looking too bright. So I'm gonna rely on that offense to carry us.
Yeah, that offense is going to really need to step up in the coming weeks. Any final thoughts, any final words as we head into another game week?
I guess we'll see you Saturday with hopefully a 4-2 record.
Hopefully. And that would be kind of the first step on the way to hopefully another bowl game this year for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Thank you so much, Dylan, for joining me on this bye week. And yeah, hopefully some big changes have been made. Hopefully Shiano is recognizing what needs to be different heading into these next couple weeks. They'll display those new changes as we head into kind of a very pivotal stretch of Big Ten play. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Like and subscribe and check out all the TikToks and website and stuff. And we'll see you next week.